Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 3, Chu Prefecture Lantern Festival. Chapter 12 156 Heavenly Pavilion and Cloud Pavilion. 12th of Volume 3. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Ju's giant marsh city, an ancient city with a population exceeding 1 million, boasts a history spanning 10,000 years. Countless historical sites and scenic spots dot the city, and many legendary figures who journeyed through the Bing Jus once rested here. Within the city lie the Heavenly Law Earth Spring and a Dao domain. On the streets, martial mystic cultivators, spiritual masters, exotic beasts, dead spirits, and members of the demon clan mingle freely. People from all directions, dressed in diverse attire, reflect the city's remarkable inclusivity. Qi Wangshu had already arranged accommodations and meals in advance. Upon entering the city, the group immediately settled into the Heavenly Pavilion Tianj. In the Lingxiao realm, the Wind, Snow, and Moon establishment, with its Immortal Grove theme, holds the highest prestige for dining and lodging. However, the Immortal Grove caters exclusively to pure immortal physique martial mystic cultivators, maintaining an extremely secluded and exclusive atmosphere. It prioritizes appearance, talent, and status, as if attempting to create a miniature immortal realm within the mortal world. The Heavenly Pavilion ranks second in prestige. With branches in major cities, the Heavenly Pavilion is renowned for its opulence and luxury. It employs the most beautiful women in the world as attendants and gathers the finest ingredients and most skilled chefs to prepare exquisite cuisine and brew fine wines. Each pavilion within the Heavenly Pavilion is meticulously crafted, with pavilions and towers artfully arranged amidst pavilions and towers, intricately carved beams and painted rafters, and a unique aesthetic evident in every detail. Beautiful women, exquisite cuisine, fine wine, and breathtaking scenery. Here, spending 1,000 silver coins in a single night is common. Li Wei and his companions had taken up residence in Cloud Pavilion, one of the 28 pavilions of the Heavenly Pavilion. Within the pavilion, there were 20 or 30 young female attendants, their gauzy white robes fluttering like celestial maidens. Each had undergone rigorous training, mastering the arts of music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, while also possessing considerable skill in the martial mystic path. 10 eunuch attendants, dressed in green silk robes, stood nearby, their youthful and handsome faces betraying no hint of their true nature. The Heavenly Pavilion and the Immortal Grove are both owned by the same entity, Qianli Thousand Li Mountain, Qi Wangshu explained. Qianli Mountain claims to recruit only the best of the best, selecting 1 in 1,000 for every position, from management to attendants and servants. Even the female attendants in this pavilion are chosen from among the most beautiful women in the land. Qi Wangshu sat at the head of the long, white jade dining table, dressed in luxurious robes. His average features and flamboyant demeanor perfectly embodied the image of a pampered young scion of a noble family. He had a woman on each arm and 2 alluring concubines from his clan perched on his legs. Among the assembled young talents, only Li Wei saw through his facade. Qi Wangshu was feigning incompetence, concealing his true cultivation, the 4th stage of the 5 Seas realm. A true spoiled young master could never have reached such heights at his age. Qi Wangshu continued, Qianli Mountain has always pursued the highest standards of taste, but in reality, they are the first commerce guild of Lingxiao, vulgar and unrefined. Their industries span every sector, from legitimate businesses to shady dealings, from glamorous ventures to hidden operations. Therefore, esteemed guests, if you wish to purchase any resources or treasures, simply inform the attendant beside you. They will relay your request, and the Heavenly Pavilion will procure them with utmost speed. In short, if you have sufficient wealth, you can buy anything here. Li Wei's heart stirred. Can I buy millennial essence herbs? The crowd froze for a moment, then burst into laughter. The Heavenly Pavilion attendants attending the guests, along with the skilled musicians playing zithers and flutes in the distance, all wore charming smiles. Millennial essence medicine-grade herbs had already developed consciousness and could be considered demons. They could burrow underground and ride the wind, making them incredibly difficult to capture. A single essence medicine herb was worth 10 times more than a precious medicine herb of 900 years age. Its medicinal potency had undergone a significant transformation, making it a treasure of the world. Even the most common millennial essence medicine herb would fetch at least 10 million silver coins. Not only could young martial mystic cultivators like them not afford it, but even those in the Dao Seed realm would struggle to buy it. In fact, most Dao Seed realm elders risked their lives venturing into secluded realm ruins, fallen immortal lands, and the great tombs of the ancient sons of heaven in search of millennial essence medicine herbs to prolong their lives. The maid standing to Li Wei's left, Yu Dai, looked to be 17 or 18 years old. She smiled and said, if a guest is willing to pay the price, even millennial essence medicine herb can be obtained. Just 10 days ago, a truly remarkable figure exchanged a 100-character scripture spiritual artifact at the Heavenly Pavilion for a dose of millennial essence medicine herb to heal his wounds. It caused quite a stir in Yu's giant marsh city. Qi Wangshu was moved. It couldn't have been a martial mystic cultivator from the younger generation, could it? It was the gentle scholar from the Jiazi register. Yu Dai replied, rumor has it he was pursued by an immortal realm giant from Li Prefecture all the way to Yu's giant marsh city. His body was nearly shattered in the chase. 30 miles of snow turned into 30 miles of blood mist. Yu Dai sighed regretfully. They say the gentle scholar Yao Qian is peerlessly handsome, a rarity in this world, and any woman who sees him would fall in love. It's a pity he passed through Ju's giant marsh city's heavenly pavilion without us ever catching a glimpse of his unparalleled beauty. Li Ling, sitting beside Li Wei and wearing a mask, scoffed, if he was being chased so relentlessly that he had to trade a spiritual artifact for healing essence medicine herb, what's so unparalleled about his beauty? Who else in the Jiazi register could escape an immortal realm giant's pursuit? Yu Dai countered. With her 7 springs cultivation, her perspective was far beyond that of an ordinary maid. In Lingxiao, only those in the immortal realm could be called true giants, standing at the pinnacle of the world. With a single thought, they could summon wind and rain, one person could defeat 1,000 armies. With a mere gesture, they could split mountains and uproot cities. One person could support a sect of 1,000,000 members or a clan of 1,000,000 members. In any prefecture, an immortal realm giant could stand alone, laughing at the heavens and earth, revered by millions. They were the ultimate goal of countless talented martial mystic cultivators. Li Ling said, Yao Qian hasn't even reached top of the southern territory. He's been firmly suppressed by that person from the Zuoqiu clan. Within 60 years, many will surpass him. Yu Dai, of course, wouldn't argue with a guest, so she smiled and remained silent. Qi Wangshu turned his gaze to Li Wei and chuckled. Brother Kai, rumors outside say your Zhu Li tribe has several immortal realm elders. I didn't quite believe it before, but hearing this news today is truly shocking. The ancient myriad clans truly live up to their name, their foundation is incredibly deep. Li Wei was currently posing as Kai Yongsheng, the second in command of the Kai Li tribe's younger generation. None of the Ji prefecture talents present suspected a thing. For one thing, young elites from various Li prefecture powers had indeed fled, most seeking refuge in Chu prefecture to escape the war. Martial mystic cultivators from out of state knew little about the young masters of Li Prefecture, except for special agents like Yin Shi-san, who were specifically tasked with gathering intelligence for the hidden sect to monitor the world. At most, they were familiar with figures like Chen Wenwu and Yang Qingxi, who were at the Kang Li level. Beyond that, they might know the top 10 young masters of Li Prefecture, which was considered quite knowledgeable. The second reason was that Li Wei's female companion, Li Ling, possessed a pure immortal physique and was a great spiritual master. This was no small matter. How could such a celestial beauty be traveling with a commoner? To many talented young men present, even the second-ranked young master of the Kai Li tribe seemed unworthy of being paired with a 16-year-old pure immortal physique great spiritual master. The 9G prefecture talents present all came from powerful sects and clans. Their cultivation was at least at the first realm of the 5 Seas realm, but none of them possessed a pure immortal physique. Li Wei drank a cup of clear breeze spring and waved his hand. What ancient myriad clans? They've long since declined. Brother Qi, don't flatter me so. But the clan chiefs of our various tribes and the 9 priests of the divine temple are all first-rate experts. To think you could count all the immortal realm cultivators in the Zhu Li tribe so easily. You're vastly underestimating us. The talented young men of Ji prefecture present were stunned. Li Ling glared at Li Wei, thinking he was talking nonsense. Even she wasn't sure how many immortal realm cultivators the Zhu Li tribe had. Beings of that level were the white jade pillars of their clans, their combat prowess earth-shattering and awe-inspiring. She only knew that the first commander of the Kandli tribe, her fourth uncle Li Songolin, had spent 30 years cultivating in the Dao Seed realm. Whenever he mentioned the immortal realm, he would sigh deeply, saying that only after reaching the Dao Seed realm did he realize he was actually mediocre, admitting he had no hope of ever reaching it. Li Wei continued, even if the ancient myriad clans decline, they still have countless experts. In the southern territory, they're only second to the Zuoqiu clan. The Sui sect, San Chen Palace, Tianyi sect, and even the Guanshan and Li clan are just clowns stirring up trouble. At that moment, their group was gathered for a lakeside, open-air feast with a wide view. Looking out over the lake, they saw a ring of towering pavilions and cloud platforms, brightly lit and reflected in the water, creating a breathtaking spectacle. On a circular jade platform in the center of the lake, immortal officials from the Immortal Grove were performing a graceful dance. Their movements were exquisite and captivating, their ethereal robes fluttering in the breeze. Though veiled, their pure immortal physique still revealed glimpses of their stunning and soul-stirring beauty. As Li Wei's words faded, a cold voice drifted from a 6-story vermilion tower beside the cloud pavilion. You speak boldly, daring to call the southern territory's top sects mere clowns. I've never seen your face in the Zhu Li tribe of Li prefecture before. Who are you? The voice wasn't loud enough to disturb the music and instruments playing in the other pavilions of the heavenly pavilion, yet it was perfectly clear to everyone within the cloud pavilion. Li Ling transmitted mentally, "It's Chen Lian. What a coincidence to run into him even in Yu's giant marsh city." Chen Lian was the third-ranked young master of the Sanchen Palace. In the Mangshan mountain range, he had once led 2 ironclad army elders in pursuit of Li Wei and Li Ling. Li Wei was taken aback, wondering if Chen Lian was alone or if the Sanchen Palace had brought a large force. Suddenly, a voice entered his mind, "Help me probe. Find out how many experts from the Sanchen Palace and the Sui sect have come to use giant marsh city." Li Wei recognized the voice. It was the same one that had appeared above the canyon in the Mangshan mountain range when Zhenhai Guanwu had confronted him. The voice's owner had kicked down rocks from the cliff above. At the time, he was wearing a high-grade spiritual artifact Nightwalker's garment, which allowed him to break through the ironclad army's encirclement. Clearly, he was a top-tier hidden one. Li Wei scanned the pavilions around the lake, but couldn't pinpoint the source of the voice. He thought to himself, what incredible cultivation. It must be one of the top 10 hidden ones. All the Ji prefecture talents at the table exchanged strange glances, their smiles now strained as they stared at him. Li Wei laughed heartily, turning his gaze toward the 6th floor of the nearby high pavilion. "So it's brother Chen Lian. Long time no see. You may not remember me, but I have a life or death bond with Chen Jingtang and Chen Song, the 2 supreme being heavenly prides of your Sanchen Palace." Chen Jingtang and Chen Song had both died in burial immortal town. The fact that the other man brought them up at this moment was clearly meant as a provocation. Chen Lian's face turned ashen. He pushed open the window and glared toward the cloud pavilion on the right side of the lake. "Are you truly a member of the Zhu Li tribe? You can't just claim that lightly. The war in Li prefecture is raging, and both sides are locked in a fight to the death. If you insist on identifying yourself as a Zhu Li martial mystic cultivator, be careful you don't end up leaving Yu's giant marsh city alive." Blank. End of chapter. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 3, Chu Prefecture Lantern Festival. Chapter 13, 157, The Sword of Ceasefire and Chen Wenwu. 13th of Volume 3. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Are you trying to scare me? Li Wei remained completely fearless. Chen Lian said, "I'm warning you. When you deliberately provoke someone, you should know your limits. Do you really think you're safe in the heavenly pavilion just because you've befriended a few playboys from Ji Prefecture?" Li Wei glanced at the young heavenly pride's geniuses from Ji Prefecture seated at the table. Their expressions were indeed grim. In a place like the heavenly pavilion, the surrounding pavilions were filled with influential figures from the southern territory. Countless eyes were watching from the shadows. If he couldn't salvage his pride, the humiliation would be immense. On the other side, Qi Wangshu remained surprisingly calm. He advised, "This Chen Lian is a formidable expert at the 4th stage of the 5 Seas realm. Brother Kai, if you can swallow your pride for now, things will naturally calm down. Fights and even killings happen frequently in the heavenly pavilion. Losing here wouldn't just be humiliating, it could cost you your life." Qi Wangshu could tell that Li Wei's cultivation was not high, at most the 3rd stage of the 5 Seas realm, judging by the strength of the spiritual qi he was unconsciously emitting. If Li Wei acted rashly and was killed by Chen Lian in the heavenly pavilion, would Qi Wangshu, as his companion, be forced to intervene? Just dealing with Chen Lian alone was already difficult. Who knew if there were other Sanchen Palace experts hidden within the building? Losing face now only meant being branded a playboy, something Qi Wangshu had never denied. "Brother Qi, what are you saying? Is it just my face that's being lost here? Who among us hasn't been mocked and humiliated by him?" With a loud bang, Li Wei slammed his fist on the table and turned to Li Ling beside him. "Go teach him a lesson." The young talents of Ji Prefecture were stunned. They had assumed his passionate outburst meant he would take action himself. Instead, he was sending his female companion to fight for him. Could she handle it? Someone tried to dissuade him, but Li Wei waved them off confidently. "Chen Lian is nothing more than a minor annoyance. Linger can handle him easily. Don't stop the music, keep the dancing going." Li Ling heard Li Wei's serious mental transmission. Chen Lian's appearance in Giant Marsh Ju's city is not a coincidence. Be ruthless. Find out how many of them are here and what their intentions are. Li Ling had already risen to her feet. As a member of the Zhu Li clan, her hatred and animosity toward the Sanchen Palace far surpassed Li Wei's. Now that she had received guidance from Zhenhai Guanwu, Li Ling's strength had surged, and she was eager to test her newfound abilities. Whoosh! Whoosh! She removed her mask, and a blue radiance flowed from her legs. Stepping onto the water's surface as if walking on solid ground, she said, "Chen Lian, you are right. The Zhu Li clan and the Sanchen Palace are sworn enemies, locked in a life or death struggle. Today, right here in the heavenly pavilion, do you dare to accept my challenge? We'll settle our score and decide who lives and who dies." Ripples spread outward from her feet as Li Ling quickly ascended the circular jade terrace at the lake's center. The pure immortal physique dancing maiden from the immortal forest, as if accustomed to such scenes, gracefully bowed to Li Ling before soaring away, showcasing her profound martial Dao cultivation. Linger, it's you, Chen Lian said, his icy expression melting into a radiant smile. He stepped onto a bridge of spiritual qi and cloud mist, descending from the 6th-tier high pavilion toward the jade terrace at the lake's center. Do you think you have the right to call me Linger? Li Ling's jade-like arm shot out, her wrists 9 silver rings clashing violently. Driven by the spiritual light surging from her brow, they transformed into 9 silver mists that flew outward. Within the silver mists, countless circular shadows swirled, the number of silver rings seemingly endless. Swish. Chen Lian knew Li Ling was a great spiritual master of the heavenly fire realm, but he remained unfazed. With a casual flick of his fingers, he drew a circle, forming a vortex of spiritual qi that swept up all the silver rings and gathered them into his palm. Whoosh! A layer of shimmering formation light rose from the lake, enveloping all the pavilions surrounding the jade terrace. An elder from the heavenly pavilion appeared but didn't intervene, only croaking, "The cost of activating the formation and the damage caused by the battle will be added to your bill for today. Charge it all to me." Chen Lian, handsome and elegant, gracefully landed on the dragon-carved railing at the edge of the jade terrace, the 9 silver rings hovering in his palm. "Linger, you're no match for me. From Burial Immortal Town to Giant Marsh Juzed City, I've killed 5 or 6 young martial mystic cultivators of the Zhu Li clan, but I can't bear to harm you. Surely you understand my feelings. Chen Lian, you're too arrogant. Do you really think martial mystic cultivators of the Zhu Li clan are at your mercy?" As Li Ling spoke, a brilliant light erupted from her brow. With a light stomp of her foot, the entire jade terrace burst into flames, transforming into a terrifying sea of fire that engulfed an area of 30 meters. The lake water boiled, and waves of heat crashed against the pavilions lining the shore. After collecting the 9 silver bracelets, Chen Lian still looked down on the girl before him as he always had. But at this moment, a chilling sense of danger surged through him, raising goosebumps. However, it was already too late to unleash his battle technique intent or retrieve a spiritual artifact battle weapon from his cosmic pouch. Horrified, he instinctively channeled his spiritual qi into his windriding boots, hoping to escape with his speed. "Where do you think you're going?" Li Ling roared. A rune shot from her brow like a shooting star, exploding above Chen Lian's head and transforming into a 10-meter-long giant golden sword. Psychic power and sword qi locked onto Chen Lian, leaving him no chance to dodge. "You!" Chen Lian's eyes widened in terror, and he let out a long, desperate howl. The spiritual qi from his 4 qi seas erupted, coalescing into a cloud-like shield. Boom! The giant golden sword cleaved through the cloud-like shield with unstoppable force. In a flash of crimson light, Chen Lian was sent flying backward like a broken kite, a deep, bloody gash from his shoulder to his abdomen. The wound was severe. He desperately channeled his vast reserves of spiritual qi to close the wound. Otherwise, blood would be gushing out like a torrent, exposing his internal organs. The power of the golden talisman sword was equivalent to a full power strike from a martial mystic cultivator at the 4th stage of the 5 Seas realm. As long as Chen Lian didn't underestimate his opponent, he wouldn't be mortally wounded by a single blow. Li Ling used her spiritual light power to retrieve the 9 silver bracelets, then launched them again. Clang! Clang! Chen Lian gritted his teeth, his internal organs damaged. Blood gushed from his mouth as he hastily retrieved his spiritual artifact battle weapon, the 7-toothed halberd, and spun it defensively. However, most of his spiritual qi was diverted to healing his wounds, leaving him with only half his usual combat strength. Defeat was inevitable. Without rescue, he would surely die at Li Ling's hands today. The talented youths from Ji Prefecture gathered in the Cloud Pavilion were already stunned speechless by Li Ling's cultivation and power. Their eyes were practically bulging from their sockets. Brother Kai. Miss Linger is actually a great spiritual master of the heavenly fire realm. How old is she? Asked Song Nannying, the only female among the Ji Prefecture youths. Li Wei replied, 16, almost 17. Song Nannying gasped inwardly. Someone remarked, Miss Linger truly deserves her title as a pure immortal physique. Her cultivation speed is beyond our wildest dreams. Qi Wangshu's eyes sparkled with admiration. Miss Linger's mastery of talisman techniques is also very extraordinary. Among great spiritual masters of the heavenly fire realm, I've never seen such powerful runes. Just so, Li Wei said casually, among all her master's disciples, she's the worst. Qi Wangshu pressed again, Brother Kai, what exactly is your relationship with Miss Linger? His suspicion wasn't unfounded. Everyone else present wore expressions of doubt. They could tell Li Wei's cultivation was definitely not high, certainly not a match for Miss Linger. Yet he had addressed her so familiarly, using her personal name. Their relationship was clearly extraordinary. Our relationship is exactly what you're imagining, Li Wei said without further explanation. He continued to search for the mysterious hidden one lurking in the shadows, while also keeping a close eye on the 6th-tier high pavilion beside him. The crowd fell silent, their respect for Kai Yongsheng deepening. As a mere mortal, with cultivation far inferior to hers, he had managed to capture the heart of a pure immortal physique heaven's chosen daughter, making her completely devoted and obedient. This skill was far from simple. Immediately, a talented young man from Ji Prefecture politely inquired, expressing keen interest in the art of soft rice, hard eating, the art of living off a woman while still maintaining dominance. Li Wei suddenly rose to his feet, shouting, "Are you all planning to gang up?" As he spoke, two figures soared out of the window where Chen Lian had jumped earlier, riding on streams of spiritual energy and rushing toward the battlefield in the lake's center. One was male, the other female. Both were at the third stage of the Five Seas realm. They had come to rescue Chen Lian. PFF'd. PFF'd. Two golden talisman swords flew from Li Ling's forehead, cleaving through the two young experts. Their corpses were torn apart, their blood staining the jade green lake. The many onlookers watching from the shadows were stunned. Li Wei, carrying the heavenflame blade, rushed to the lake's edge and stopped. Li Ling had already used 9 enlarged silver bracelets to bind the severely wounded Chen Lian into a human pillar. The pillar flew toward Cloud Pavilion and crashed heavily at Li Wei's feet, rolling across the ground. Chen Lian was no longer the arrogant and carefree young man he had been. Blood seeped steadily from the wound in his abdomen, and his face was deathly pale. Li Ling, wielding the 7-toothed halberd, returned across the water. All the talented youths of Ji Prefecture rushed forward to greet her, showering her with flattery. Mastering a rune with power comparable to a full-strength strike from a 4th-stage martial mystic cultivator in the Five Seas realm wasn't particularly impressive. After all, during battle, no one would give you a chance to draw a second rune. But the rune Li Ling had mastered was clearly a storage rune. This was entirely different. Who knew how many of these runes she had stored in her third eye spiritual realm? Even a 5th stage of the Five Seas realm expert would feel uneasy while facing her. Li Wei returned from the lake, each hand carrying a mangled corpse. He searched the bodies for treasures, collecting everything into his cosmic pouch. Then, he prepared to interrogate Chen Lian. The sudden appearance of a large group of Sanchen Palace experts in Giant Marsh Ju's city was not a simple matter. Whoosh! A sudden gust of icy wind swept across the lake. The waves grew steeper and more violent. A chilling aura, penetrating to the very bones of everyone in the Cloud Pavilion, erupted from the 6th-tier high pavilion nearby. Li Wei's muscles tensed involuntarily, his mind sharpened, and his hair stood on end. Clang! A piercing sword clang, seemingly from nowhere, echoed through the 28 pavilions of the heavenly pavilion. Many martial mystic cultivators, swords trembled in response. Truly worthy of being Kang Li's sister. I had underestimated you before. A young voice, vast and peerless, reverberated across the lake, filled with undeniable authority. The lantern swayed, and the doors and windows rattled. Boom! The lake surface exploded into a 30-foot-high wave that surged toward Li Wei and Li Ling in the Cloud Pavilion on the shore. The wave, as tall as a city wall, rapidly solidified into white as it rushed forward, transforming into countless ice swords. These ice swords, as if sentient, climbed ashore. It's Chen Wenwu! Li Ling exclaimed in alarm. How could she not be shocked? This was the top young talent of the Sanchen Palace, wielding the Sword of Peace and having already defeated over a dozen elders. Even her brother, Kang Li, held Chen Wenwu in high regard, claiming that among the young generation of Li Province, only he could decisively defeat Chen Wenwu. This was a figure who could contend for the second highest position in Li Province, though, of course, there were several others of equal caliber. Li Wei had been on alert from the start. He immediately produced the Azure Yin Banner, a high-grade defensive spiritual artifact, and slammed it into the ground. Boom! Azure formation light erupted, and ranks of armored dead spirit soldiers surged forth to clash with the approaching wave of ice swords. There was no way to stop them. Li Wei and Li Ling retreated continuously, watching the ice swords close in. Suddenly, a powerful dragon of spiritual chi surged from the depths of the earth, driving the Azure Yin Banner, planted in the ground, higher and larger. From within the banner, armored dead spirits poured forth, numbering in the thousands, forming an army of spectral soldiers that filled the heavenly pavilion. Crack! Crack! The massive wave of ice swords surging from the lake shattered completely. Within the heavenly pavilion, Zuaoqiu sect spies immediately reported the appearance of the Azure Yin Banner. This was a treasure of the Zuaoqiu sect, and they had been instructed to report its appearance immediately. Chen Wenwu, his handsome and composed figure standing at the window of the 6th-tier high pavilion with his hands clasped behind his back, spoke, I wonder which hero has decided to intervene today. Perhaps you could do me, Chen Wenwu of the Sanchen Palace, the favor of withdrawing. Blank. End of chapter. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 3, Chu Prefecture Lantern Festival. Chapter 14 158 Tracking. 14th of Volume 3. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. The azure yin banner stood by the water's edge, towering over 20 meters tall. It swayed in the wind, its shimmering strands of light cascading down. Dead spiritual yin soldiers in full armor, resembling 1,000-strong army, filled the grassy paths of the cloud pavilion. Some stood with spears in the lake, their reflections shimmering in the distant lamplight, transforming this small world into a chilling ghost domain. Such a powerful high-grade spiritual artifact was extremely rare, yet Li Wei had produced it casually. The young talents from Ji Prefecture and the martial mystic cultivators secretly watching from within the pavilions were all deeply impressed. But when the name, Chen Wenwu, was uttered, the entire scene fell silent. A man's reputation precedes him. Sometimes, a single name can be worth 1,000 gold, or even an entire army. Unsurprisingly, Chen Wenwu's name carried that weight. Not only could his combat prowess rival that of older generation experts, but his 9 springs pure immortal physique made him a figurehead, a representative of the San Chen Palace who could travel the world. After a moment of stunned silence, a deep voice cut through the air, each word like a nail hammered into wood. Want a favor on reputation. Your strength isn't enough yet. A solitary black figure appeared atop the 6-story pavilion, a giant axe resting on his shoulder, his face obscured. From afar, it looked as if he were standing directly above Chen Wenwu, separated only by a layer of glazed tile roof. So it's him. Li Wei didn't recognize Yin Ju, but he recognized the axe on his shoulder. The Yin Ju in the psychic mural was only 13 years old, a stark contrast to his current tall and muscular physique. Even at 13, he was already breathtakingly beautiful. Over a decade later, what vast and mysterious energy must now reside within that body? An elder from the heavenly pavilion spoke, "We won't interfere with challenges within the lake formation. But if you bring the battle into the 28 halls and damage the structures, you'll be liable for 10 times the compensation. If you cause any deaths or injuries within the halls, the heavenly pavilion will execute you." Chen Wenwu's eyelids lifted, his gaze fixed on the roof. His normally handsome and carefree demeanor had darkened, like a storm gathering. It was clear this wasn't a coincidence. The other party was deliberately aiding the Zhu tribe. And the hostility was palpable. Boom. Chen Wenwu raised his arm, and the sword of peace flew from its scabbard, transforming into a beam of white light that pierced through the roof. The beam was bright and straight, shooting directly into the night sky. Yin Ju deflected the incoming sword of peace Zi's sword with a swing of his axe, landing on the roof of another building several dozen meters away. Chen Wenwu, do you dare to fight outside? I'm afraid the heavenly pavilion will make trouble for me if I kill you here. Chen Wenwu could tell his opponent was formidable, but still at the 5 seas realm level. He remained calm and fearless. Very well. But who kills whom remains uncertain. He couldn't refuse. He represented not just himself, but also the honor of the San Chen Palace. If it had been Kang Li, he could have retreated without anyone calling him Chen Wenwu a coward. But against an unknown challenger, refusing to fight would earn him lasting infamy. Swish. Chen Wenwu flew out the window, his spiritual smoke concealment technique utterly exquisite. As his form shifted, mist filled the void, making it nearly impossible to pinpoint his true location. Yin Ju moved like a phantom, leaping across the rooftops of the buildings, quickly disappearing into the darkness. Trailing behind him, the mist followed closely, its speed not much slower. So Miss Linger is young patriarch Kang Li's sister. My apologies for the earlier disrespect. The Ji Prefecture youth stepped forward again to pay their respects, their gazes even more fervent than before. Rumor has it that young patriarch Kang Li has been undefeated in Li Prefecture, defeating Dragon Sect inheritor Long Ting and the heartless Golden Ape of Heavenly Cliff Ridge in consecutive duels. Now, the talented youths of the 7 prefectures of the southern border all bow before him, and he seems poised to claim the top spot. The only one who might challenge young patriarch Kang Li for the title in the southern territory is the first inheritor of the Xuanhuan clan. The talented young man from Ji Prefecture, eager to learn the art of soft rice hard eating, from Li Wei, gazed at him with admiration, longing to pull him aside for a late-night chat. Qi Wangshu sensed Li Wei's extraordinary nature, evident in both his war blade and the Azure Yin banner, both high-grade spiritual artifacts. Despite being at the 4th stage of the 5 seas realm, Qi Wangshu possessed no high-grade spiritual artifacts himself. He stepped forward and said, "This Yin banner, with its 1,000 dead spirit soldiers within, is truly remarkable. Its value rivals that of a 100-character scripture spiritual artifact. I seem to have heard of it before. Brother Kai, is this a family heirloom?" Li Wei, his gaze fixed on the damaged 6th-story pavilion nearby, his mind elsewhere, replied casually, "This belongs to the Xuanhuan clan." Well, consider it a gift from them. In the 33 Li Mountain, Xuanhuan Beiming and Xuanhuan Lanlin had never asked for it back, so Li Wei naturally assumed it was a gift. In truth, he had simply picked it up. Upon hearing this, Qi Wangshu slapped his forehead in realization, I remember now. This was the protective treasure of the Zhuoqiu clan's first inheritor. Brother Kai, your experiences are far more extraordinary than you've let on. You've been hiding your true abilities these past few days. It's not as impressive as you think. It has nothing to do with the Zhuoqiu clan's first inheritor. In reality, it was a gift from brother Zhuoqiu Beiming, Li Wei said. Though Zhuoqiu Beiming's cultivation wasn't yet high, his innate talent was extraordinary. He possessed the 9 springs pure immortal physique, giving him the potential to reach the heights of Chen Wenwu in the future. Among the younger generation of the flourishing Zhuoqiu clan, he was considered a sure bet for the top 10, with a chance to break into the top 5. Qi Wangshu's attitude toward Li Wei softened considerably, his eyes growing much friendlier. He clasped his hands in a respectful bow and said with a smile, "For young Master Beiming to gift Brother Kai such a high-grade spiritual artifact, you and young Master Beiming must be as close as brothers. It turns out we're all on the same side. When we reach the provincial city, I'll introduce you to my elder brother. He's the top talent of the Qi clan's younger generation and one of the top 3 figures in Ji Prefecture." Li Wei sensed movement on the 6th floor of the nearby pavilion, as someone was quickly descending the stairs. He turned to Qi Wangshu and said, "All right, when we reach the provincial city, I'll have Linger introduce her brother to you so we can all get to know each other better. But Brother Qi, I have a favor to ask of you right now." Qi Wangshu was overjoyed. "Brother Kai, please, say what's on your mind. I want you and the others help Linger keep an eye on that scoundrel Chen Lian. I have something important I need to take care of and must leave. I'm just not sure if Brother Qi is willing to wade into these murky waters," Li Wei said. Qi Wangshu slapped his chest with a resounding thud. "What's the fuss? The Qi clan has a immortal realm ancestor and the backing of the Zhuoqiu clan. We don't even have the Sanchen Palace in our sights. With Qi here, Brother Kai, you needn't worry about this. Go quickly. As long as they didn't leave the Cloud Pavilion within the Heavenly Pavilion, they wouldn't be in mortal danger." Qi Wangshu naturally didn't mind doing Li Wei a favor. After all, this was Zhuoqiu Beiming's brother. "Hurry and interrogate him," Li Wei whispered to Li Ling as he approached her. "What's going on?" Li Ling asked. "I'm not sure yet. Don't leave the Heavenly Pavilion. Wait for me to return," Li Wei replied. He strode quickly toward the Cloud Pavilion's exit, shedding his ornate outer robe to reveal the Nightwalker's garment beneath. His body swiftly vanished into invisibility, leaving no trace. Yin Ju had deliberately lured Chen Wenwu away. Otherwise, he could have challenged him directly in the lake. The other occupants of the 6th floor pavilion had quickly departed after Chen Wenwu left, and there must have been a reason for their hasty departure. Li Wei waited outside the Cloud Pavilion. Moments later, 3 figures emerged hurriedly from a nearby pavilion. All were young martial mystic cultivators in their 20s, and their faces seemed familiar. He must have seen them at some event in Li Prefecture. One of the figures stood out with an extraordinary appearance. Nearly 2 meters tall, his flesh was light cast silver, marking him as a silver pure immortal physique. He led the group, clad in black iron armor with a stern, angular face. The silver pure immortal physique was exceedingly rare, with only a handful in Li Prefecture. Li Wei's mind immediately conjured a name: Chen Xuan, the second-ranked young disciple of the Sanchen Palace. This was a figure far more formidable than Chen Lian. As Chen Xuan passed Li Wei, the very space seemed to warp, and waves of energy rippled outward. Li Wei breathed a silent sigh of relief. Fortunately, a pillar stood before him, perfectly shielding him from the spreading energy waves. Otherwise, Chen Xuan would have detected his concealed presence through the anomaly in the air's fluctuations. Trailing behind the 3 figures were 2 enormous aberrant humanoid 5 Seas realm experts. Both had cyan skin and grotesque features. They carried a massive black metal chest bound with chains and sealed with talismanic runes. A ventilation hole was carved into the chest's lid. All 5 figures radiated vitality, their eyes gleaming with focused energy, each exuding a distinct aura. Clearly, they had all cultivated battle intent. After exiting the Heavenly Pavilion, they swiftly departed in 3 exotic beast carriages. The black metal chest was placed on the middle carriage, flanked by high-ranking guards in the front and rear carriages. Li Wei knew how formidable Chen Xuan was, one of the top young talents in the entire province. The others with him were no ordinary individuals either. Therefore, Li Wei proceeded with extreme caution, concealing himself among the crowd and trailing them from a distance of 30 meters. He thought, strange. Judging by their behavior, they seem to place great importance on that black metal box. If it's so crucial, wouldn't it be safer to keep it at the Heavenly Pavilion? Ah, I see. It must be Yin Ju's appearance. They must fear that some hidden secret has been exposed, prompting this hasty relocation. Could there possibly be a safer place in Giant Marsh Ju's city than the Heavenly Pavilion? Throughout Li Wei's pursuit, someone in the lead carriage constantly monitored the rear and employed battle intent to detect any pursuers, demonstrating extreme vigilance. Finally, in the last carriage, Sheng Qingyan, the top young talent of the Sheng clan, the second most powerful family in the Sui sect, held a palm-sized mirror and lightly brushed her eyelashes. Brother Xuan, there's no need to be so tense. Li Ling and surname Kai are just inexperienced youngsters. How could they possibly be tailing us? Their minds haven't even fully matured yet. Brother Wenwu is being overly cautious, insisting we move immediately to the Jingyujite Mirror Moon retreat. Chen Xuan, whose entire body was silver and whose pupils were silver as well, stared intently at the pedestrians outside the carriage window. His nerves remained taut, and he said solemnly, "This matter must not be exposed. It's a good idea to be cautious." Sheng Qingyan put away her silver mirror, her voluptuous figure accentuated by her prominent chest. Her jade-like fingers caressed Chen Xuan's chest as she spoke in a seductive tone, "I should have been the one to rescue Chen Lian. What if he reveals it to them?" Chen Xuan, known for his calm demeanor and unwavering focus, replied without a trace of emotion, "Li Ling is no longer the little girl who used to follow Kang Li around. Her golden talisman sword, if numerous enough, could force even us to temporarily retreat, given our current cultivation. There's no need to complicate things further because of Chen Lian. He should understand the gravity of this situation. Be gentle. You lustful woman, always seeking excitement. What time is it anyway?" Looking back through the window, Sheng Qingyan was no longer visible. Spiritual qi began to permeate the carriage. Blank. End of chapter. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 3, Chu Prefecture Lantern Festival. Chapter 15, 159, The Young Venerable. 15th of Volume 3. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. The three exotic beast carriages followed a winding, circuitous route for nearly an hour, leaving the city and entering Yunj cloud-veiled mountain, which stood on the edge of the Bingzu. Chu Prefecture had long been home to a large number of Taoists and cultivators, resulting in the construction of numerous ancient Taoist temples and vegetarian halls. The Mirror Moon Pavilion on Yunj cloud-veiled mountain had stood for thousands of years. Built into the mountainside, its upturned eaves and corners were concealed among dense forests. Several blue lamps floated in the night, casting the entire pavilion in an air of mysterious, wabi-sabi gloom. The three exotic beast carriages stopped one after another outside the temple. Two blue-skinned aberrant humanoid martial mystic cultivators carried down a black metal box. Li Wei, sensing the immense power emanating from the man and woman who emerged from the third carriage, kept his distance, wary of being detected by their senses. Creak. The wooden door of the Taoist temple opened, and two identical young Taoists emerged side by side. Both wore blue Taoist robes, their faces long and thin, their skin slightly dark, with thick eyebrows and large eyes. Each held a silver wire whisk. Their gazes were sharp and filled with a heavy aura of hostility, lacking the serene composure one might expect from cultivators in the mountains. As Li Wei watched them from afar, the thought immediately struck him, they must be Ren Dao cultivated humans. Twins, of course, weren't always Ren Dao, but the association was inevitable. Chen Xuan treated the two young Taoists with utmost respect. After bowing, he meticulously reported the events that had transpired within the heavenly pavilion. One of the arrogant twin Taoist youths sneered, "Such a trivial matter, and the San Chen Palace can't even handle it. You had to bother the young venerable Lord Yuzun." Chen Xuan suppressed his anger, daring not to voice his objections. "We of the San Chen Palace wanted to kill the person in the iron box outright, but Lord Qi insisted on keeping him alive, claiming he still had a use. Now that a large number of Zhu clan experts have appeared in Giant Marsh Juiced City, we can't just dump this hot potato on the San Chen Palace, can we?" Chen Xuan had no idea how many members of the Zhu clan had actually arrived. He had to exaggerate the situation to make them take it seriously. The Taoist scoffed, "Only you fools of the San Chen Palace would make such a fuss over the Zhu clan. What Kang Li? What young Zhu clan experts? The young venerable lord could crush them all with a single finger. Our mission here is..." The other twin Taoist youth interrupted him, "Since it's Lord Qi's goods, just bring it in." Li Wei could tell that the two twin Taoists were incredibly powerful. Their breaths were long and steady, and their gazes were like sharp swords, radiating outward with deadly intent. The Taoist temple behind them was undoubtedly a dragon's den, filled with formations, runes, and other dangers. Once the metal iron box was brought inside, Li Wei would never have another chance to find out what it contained. The more dangerous something seems, the more necessary it is to seize it. I've come this far. And I have my guardian wife. Li Wei kept convincing himself to take the risk, secretly calculating the distance to the metal iron box, the time needed to reach it, and which item to use to collect it. By the time he had everything sorted out in his mind, the two aberrant humanoid martial mystic cultivators had already carried the metal iron box up the 30-plus stone steps, leaving only a few steps between them and the Taoist temple gate. Rustle. A gentle breeze drifted up from below, causing the fallen leaves on the stone steps to swirl. Chen Xuan, who was closest to the two aberrant humanoid martial mystic cultivators, immediately stopped, sensing something amiss. With a sharp clang, he drew his crescent moon fish scale longblade. Boom. Boom. Before the two aberrant humanoid experts, both at the third stage of the 5 Seas realm, could even release their spiritual chi, they were struck by two palms, their burly bodies sent flying. The black metal box crashed to the ground with a resounding thud, its iron chains clattering. Lacking a suitable cosmic pouch, Li Wei prepared to use the evil camel bell to collect the box. As Li Wei landed beside the black metal box and had just taken out the bell, Chen Xuan's horizontal slash, like a curtain of light, swept across his vision. Fast reaction, Li Wei muttered. Li Wei didn't meet the attack head-on. He enveloped the iron box in spiritual chi, kicked off the stone steps, and shot out from beneath the dazzling blade curtain like an arrow. But before he could land, Sheng Qingyan, moving with lightning speed, was already waiting on the ground. Her waist was slender, her hips full, and a smile played on her red lips. All the leaves on the ground around her rose into the air, shimmering with a metallic sheen like tens of thousands of flying knives, and shot toward Li Wei. 5th stage of the 5 Seas realm. Li Wei never imagined this seemingly gentle beauty could possess such terrifying cultivation. Another young prodigy from a single province. Damn it. He, who had been cultivating for less than a year, had stumbled into a nest of top-tier experts. Boom. Boom. Li Wei activated his corpse garment soft armor. Blood mist and crimson scriptures erupted from his body, colliding with the incoming leaves. These leaves, seemingly fragile, were each like a heavy punch under Sheng Qingyan's spiritual chi, constantly dispersing the blood mist. Hee hee. Sheng Qingyan's laughter contained a soul-shattering, mind-numbing melody. With a graceful wave of her slender jade hand, she unleashed a soft sword that transformed into 10,000 blades. Countless bright sword shadows formed a net, slashing toward Li Wei, still suspended in midair. Li Wei formed a hand seal in the air, and the battle technique intent manifested on his back, as if he were fighting with an ancient immortal on his back. Boom. The golden heaven-turning divine seal struck out with the palm technique, shattering the sword net and annihilating the sword chi. The palm technique and divine seal pressed down toward Sheng Qingyan below the stone steps. Sheng Qingyan let out a soft gasp, having never seen such a wondrous palm technique, so fierce and overwhelming, it seemed otherworldly. She knew that her soft sword would be no match for it, there was no such thing as always overcoming rigidity with flexibility. Whoosh. With an incredibly subtle movement technique, she retreated a step, instantly soaring to the top of a distant tree. This allowed her to evade the palm strike, survey the entire situation, and intercept Li Wei's escape route if he tried to flee. Li Wei didn't land. He knew that once his feet touched the ground, he wouldn't escape today. A hurricane erupted beneath his windriding boots, propelling him forward as he rode the wind and chi toward the forest on Sheng Qingyan's right. This direction was closest to the Bingfeng Jews, making it the easiest escape route. But none of the top figures among the younger generation were fools. The third person, besides Chen Xuan and Sheng Qingyan, had already secretly shifted to that position earlier. A silver spear erupted from the ground, its shaft and silver light shooting dozens of meters into the air, forcing Li Wei back onto the empty stone steps outside the Taoist temple. Clack. Clack. A young figure emerged from the forest, wielding a silver spear, Tianyi sect, Huo Chengkan. The entire exchange had lasted less than a breath. Each strike from the three experts had been perfectly timed and angled. Huo Chengkan believed that any martial mystic cultivator who could survive those three attacks deserved to know his name. Li Wei dispelled his invisibility. Invisibility held no meaning against opponents of this caliber. Ignoring them, he casually stowed the black iron box into the evil camel bell. I know you. The number one of Tianyi sect's younger generation, Little Candli, Huo Chengkan. Among the young spear masters of Li province, you're second only to Kang Li himself. The twin Taoist priests, who had already entered the Taoist temple, turned back but showed no intention of intervening. One of the Taoists said coldly, "You're truly useless. You didn't even realize you were being followed. Finish him off quickly. We can't let Mirror Moon Pavilion be exposed. Do you really think I came alone?" Li Wei had no intention of taking on multiple opponents alone. He immediately contacted Zhenhai Guanwu, preparing to have her resolve the situation. If she refused to come out, as the master of the Shaoyang star, he could forcibly pull her out. The faces of everyone present tightened as they released their spiritual senses. Sheng Qingyan stood atop a tree, her body weightless, her skirt billowing empty, and smiled. This feels like a bluff. May I ask which faction you represent? Do you know what's inside that iron box? Some muddy waters are best left untrodden. Chen Xuan drew his crescent moon fish scale longblade and descended the stone steps, step by step, closing in on Li Wei. There's no muddy water in this world I wouldn't wade through. To be honest, I'm more curious about which faction the people behind this Taoist temple belong to. As Li Wei finished speaking, a blinding silver light erupted from Chen Xuan. He shattered the stone steps beneath his feet, and a towering battle technique intent manifested, as he unleashed a domineering slash toward Li Wei. The blade's surface was covered in fish scale patterns. Though it was only one strike, the blade's wind seemed to come from all directions. Li Wei felt the ground beneath him sinking, the sky collapsing, and the world around him crumbling. With no escape and no way to avoid it, Li Wei had prepared for this moment. He waved his ghost banner, striking its surface with a palm strike from behind. Nether mist billowed, and from the ghost banner emerged a ghost shadow clad in armor and wielding a war spear. After reaching the second stage of the Five Seas realm, the ghost shadow within the banner had grown immensely, standing 3 meters tall. Its form was no longer a mere shadow but seemed as real as flesh and blood, its armor and war spear appearing to be forged from metal. Boom! The ghost shadow swung its war spear, clashing head-on with Chen Xuan's all-out strike. Cracks immediately spider-webbed across dozens of stone steps, and nearby trees were stripped bare by the energy ripples, their branches reduced to stark, skeletal frames. The ground beneath Li Wei's feet cracked, and the ghost banner's surface trembled violently. Chen Xuan stumbled back 2 steps as dozens of stone steps collapsed entirely, exploding into fragments. Now that's interesting. Li Wei gained a new appreciation for the ghost banner's power. It seemed to contain a 5th stage of the Five Seas realm dead spirit expert, far more reliable than the blood-refined artifact he had sold to Yin or Shi. The twin Taoists laughed in unison, then said in unison, "Indeed, it's quite interesting. This banner of yours is no simple thing. We, the left and right attendants, shall take it." Without taking a step, the 2 attendants moved left and right at a speed beyond Li Wei's naked eye could discern. Their agility and speed far surpassed even Sheng Qingyan, who was renowned for her swiftness. Whoosh! Before Li Wei could even draw Zhenhai Guanwu, a folding fan spun through the darkness and flew toward him. The fan resembled a miniature cosmos, with 100 characters floating across its surface. As it spun, the heavens and earth seemed to rotate with it, unleashing a gust of wind that sent Chen Xuan, Sheng Qingyan, and Huo Chengkan flying like straw dolls in 3 different directions. Finally, the fan's edge struck horizontally, sending the 2 attendants crashing through the Taoist temple walls and back inside. Their skin was torn, revealing faint sparks of fire that glowed brightly in the darkness. So there really is backup. Who is this? The left attendant roared, stomping his foot to transform the ground beneath him into a sea of scorching flames. Li Wei was stunned. The 2 attendants were already terrifyingly powerful, yet Xuanhuan sect's pretentious leader was even stronger, capable of sending them flying with just a folding fan before even arriving. He recognized the folding fan, he had seen it in the immortal realm space of Burial Immortal Town. Now that Xuanhuan had arrived, Li Wei decided not to summon Zhen Si Mistwatcher for the time being. Whoosh! The characters and light on the folding fan vanished, and it spun back into the darkness. A moment later, Xuanhuan stopped fanning himself, his elegant demeanor on full display as he strolled over to Li Wei. He glanced at him and said, "You go ahead and wait for me in Giant Marsh Juiced City. I'll stay here and meet the master of this place." It was late at night, in the dead of winter, yet he was still fanning himself. What a show-off. Li Wei didn't hesitate. He immediately activated the invisibility power of his Nightwalker's garment and swiftly vanished into the darkness. Behind him, Xuanhuan's voice, infused with spiritual qi, rang out. "Young Venerable, you've come to the Xuanhuan sect's territory, why are you hiding in the shadows? If you had given us a heads up, I could have come out earlier to pay my respects." With a flash, Xuanhuan landed in front of the Taoist temple's gate. Inside the Taoist temple, a cold voice echoed, "A mere inheritor dares to test my strength. My true opponents are the elders of your human race. No one from the younger generation is worthy of facing me." After fleeing several miles away, Li Wei turned back. 2 massive hand seals, each radiating distinct power fluctuations, collided above the Taoist temple. The residual spiritual qi from the impact extended for miles, reaching his position. The trees on the mountain swayed violently in the howling hurricane. The Taoist temple, built into the mountainside, collapsed entirely with a thunderous roar. Then all light vanished, plunging the world into silence. Is this really a clash between the younger generation? Li Wei cursed under his breath before hurrying back to Giant Marsh Juiced City as quickly as possible, desperate to put as much distance as possible between himself and the Mirror Moon Pavilion. As for Xuanhuan's safety, he wasn't worried in the slightest. After all, this was Xuanhuan sect territory. It would be a colossal joke if an inheritor of the Xuanhuan sect were to die on their own turf. Blank. End of chapter. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 3, Chu Prefecture Lantern Festival. Chapter 16, 160, Yinju, Yinshi, Yinshiyi. 16th of Volume 3. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Li Wei erased all traces of his presence, stowing the ghost banner and Nightwalker's garment in his boundary pouch. He wouldn't use them again anytime soon. The situation at the Mirror Moon Pavilion was far more serious than he'd initially realized. Even the 2 servants could casually berate the top young talents of Li Prefecture. Their reference to the young venerable suggested someone truly terrifying. Anyone who crossed such a powerful force would live in constant fear, feeling like a thorn in their side. Li Wei had to be cautious. He'd used the disguise technique and altered his voice, so he shouldn't have been exposed. I'll keep this up as long as I can. Given enough time, I'll expose those left and right attendants and that young venerable for who they really are. Zhuo Ting had clearly seen through his disguise. But Li Wei had intentionally used the Azure Yin banner at the Heavenly Pavilion to draw out members of the Zhuo clan. According to the Hidden Lord, he had negotiated the alliance between the Zhu Hidden Sect and the Zhuo clan, making them allies. The Zhu Hidden Sect was practically transparent to the Zhuo clan, allowing them to approach them as hidden ones. At 33 Li Mountain, Li Wei had done nothing to harm the Zhuo clan. In fact, he had even saved Zhuo Beiming and Zhuo Lanlan. It was already late at night. Though the heavenly pavilion remained brightly lit, the earlier bustle had faded, and the voices of the crowd had gradually died down. Li Wei adjusted his breathing, redressed in his formal robes, and headed straight for Cloud Pavilion. Brother Kai is back. The young talents of Ji Prefecture rushed forward to greet him. Qi Wangshu said, that Chen Lian was incredibly stubborn. We tried everything, all 18 methods, but couldn't get a single word out of him. Miss Linger used her mental power to forcibly extract his soul memories, but his battle intent fiercely resisted. In the end, death spirit fire erupted from his body, leaving him in this state. Inside the room, where formations had been set up, Chen Lian's head lay on the floor, a charred skull. His neck and chest were also blackened. The crowd wore varied expressions, some worried, others silent. After all, this was a young heavenly pride at the 4th stage of the 5 Seas realm, a valuable asset to any sector clan. He was highly likely to reach the Dao Seed realm in the future. Li Wei's expression was solemn. As you can see, tonight's events are far more complex than they appear. Therefore, I ask you to keep my earlier departure from the Heavenly Pavilion a secret. Tell everyone I was injured by Chen Wenwu's sword qi and spent 2 hours recovering. Li Wei knew the people of Mirror Moon Pavilion would likely suspect something, but they were unlikely to investigate him and Li Ling deeply. After all, they were both too young and their cultivation wasn't strong enough. Even if they investigate thoroughly, they'll only focus on Yinju and Zhuo Ting. Li Wei continued, Linger and I will take responsibility for Chen Lian's death. It has nothing to do with any of you. If the San Chen Palace retaliates against you, I, Kai, will not stand idly by. The entire Zhu Li tribe will bear the brunt of their wrath. Qi Wangshu laughed heartily. Is the San Chen Palace truly that arrogant? Must we fear being implicated and retaliated against just for making friends? In the Southern Territory, the San Chen Palace's ambition to dominate is single-handedly is far beyond their capabilities. No matter how strong Chen Wenwu may be, my elder brother can easily defeat him. Brother Kai, don't underestimate us. True friendship is forged in adversity. Qi Wangshu found Li Wei to be quite remarkable and decided to extend a gesture of goodwill. A talented young man from Ji Prefecture spoke up. Among the major powers in the 7 prefectures of the southern border, the Zhuo clan, the Southern Territory's leading authority, ranks first. Second is Heavenly Cliff Ridge, home to the Cave of the 10,000 Demons. Third is Xuanhuan, the leader of the 3 great barbarian bandits. Even Sui sect struggles to break into the top 5, while the San Chen Palace can only compete for a spot in the top 10. They're still far from achieving single-handed dominance. Someone disagreed. Guanshan's foundation is far weaker than the Zhu Li tribes. They only have 2 immortal realm giants, Xuanhuan and Shanjing. I believe the Zhu Li tribe is the true 3rd largest power in the Southern Territory. The Ji Prefecture prodigy forced a bitter smile. In terms of overall strength, the Zhu Li 9 tribes are definitely in the top 3. But who can deny that the Forbidden One of Guanshan is a being beyond the immortal realm? One person alone can elevate Guanshan to the ranks of Lingxiao's top-tier powers. Moreover, Xuanhuan and Shanjing, one having lived for 4 centuries and the other for 360 years, are no ordinary immortal realm giants. The Ji Prefecture prodigies immediately began arguing over the ranking of the Southern Territory's major powers. Li Wei placed Chen Lian's corpse into his boundary pouch, pondering how to dismiss the people inside the room before turning his attention to the black metal iron chest. A young female attendant from the Heavenly Pavilion approached the door, holding a white jade tray. Her voice was clear and melodious as she asked, May I ask which of you is young Master Kai? Li Wei stepped out and inquired, What young Master Kai? My mistress, Miss Li, the immortal official of the Immortal Grove, wishes to meet young Master Kai of the Cloud Pavilion, the attendant replied. Li Wei looked puzzled. I don't know your Miss Li. Perhaps you've mistaken me for someone else. Think carefully, could she be looking for young Master Qi or young Master Lu? The attendant, quick-witted and clever, chuckled, There's no mistake. My mistress is looking for young Master Kai of the Zhu Li tribe. She said she's long admired young Master Qi's reputation and has long wished to make his acquaintance. Their meeting today in Giant Marsh Ju's city is truly a fated encounter. The talented young men of Ji Prefecture couldn't help but envy Kai Yongsheng, and they began to stir. Good heavens, this is what true power looks like. Who says mortals can't match the charm of a pure immortal physique? From now on, I'll be the first to disagree. Miss Qin Li of the Immortal Grove is renowned as the dual sword prodigy, with exceptional martial mystic cultivation far beyond the mortal realm. Among all the immortal officials in the Immortal Grove, her talent and beauty ranks among the top 5. To invite her to perform, you'd need to offer 1,000,000 silver coins just for a chance. Brother Kai, such a perfect romantic and beautiful event is something old Qi could only dream of. What are you hesitating for? Li Wei was naturally wary. He had never crossed paths with this Miss Qin Li. Why would she suddenly request his presence the moment he returned to the heavenly pavilion? What did this mean? It was highly likely that Li Wei's departure and return to the heavenly pavilion had been under her surveillance the entire time. Most importantly, the name Kai Yongsheng was completely fake. The maidservant said, "My mistress has prepared a letter for young Master Kai. She believes that after reading it, you will naturally honor her with your presence." Oh. Then I shall see whether this letter contains a moving love poem or a mind-altering potion. Li Wei smiled and picked up the letter from the white jade tray. He opened it, then immediately closed it and tucked it into his chest. The tension in his face eased, and he smiled. A dual sword prodigy, you say? I'm rather looking forward to it. With such a beautiful weather, snowy wind and moonlit night, it seems tonight is destined to be a sleepless night. Li Ling, standing nearby, frowned and transmitted a cold message. Are you really drugged? Why would anyone be interested in you? Watch out for a honey trap. Who would refuse a honey trap? Stay put in the cloud pavilion and don't wander off. Li Wei followed the female attendant a few steps, then suddenly stopped and said seriously to Li Ling, find a way to contact your brother. It's best if you can get him to come to Giant Marsh Juiced City. Miss Qin Li resided in the Immortal Pavilion, one of the 28 pavilions of the Heavenly Pavilion. Li Wei entered her room, leaving the female attendant outside. The room was dimly lit by candlelight, with a silk curtain and a famous painting hanging on the wall. The first person he saw was Yin Ju, already waiting inside, seated by the window. A giant axe, as large as a door panel, leaned casually against the wall. For the first time, Li Wei took a serious look at this man, hailed as the most gifted hidden one of the past 60 years, immortal at the peak of his cultivation, with 100 silver meridian veins. Yin Ju had a rugged face, a high-bridged nose, and a sculpted, muscular physique. Sitting there, he radiated an aura that seemed to alter everything around him. Li Wei remained unfazed by this imposing presence. He showed no sign of unease, his mind calm and steady as he closed the door with a casual air. Whoosh! 100 pattern formation rose from the floor, enveloping the entire room. The pearl curtain swayed, its tinkling sound echoing softly. Qin Li gracefully emerged, her figure as elegant as a dancer's. Renowned as the dual sword prodigy, she possessed long legs, slender arms, a supple physique, and skin as flawless as white jade wax. Her face was veiled, and she held a 4-foot starlight sword, meticulously wiping it with a pristine white silk cloth. It was she who had performed the dance on the jade terrace in the lake's center earlier. But now, she was in a completely different state than when she had been dancing. Her eyes were as sharp as the sword in her hand. He is Yin Ju. And who are you? Li Wei retrieved a paper note from his pocket, still faintly fragrant. It bore a special emblem marking from the Ju Li hidden sect. Qin Li's phoenix eyes smoldered with mist. Her plain gauze robes billowed like mist around her. Her lips parted slightly, and she spoke in a voice like celestial music. Yin Shi. Divine Hidden One, Li Wei. Li Wei announced his identity and sat down opposite Yin Ju, radiating the confidence and aura befitting a Divine Hidden One. Qin Li frowned, turning to Yin Ju. Has he been crowned as the Divine Hidden One? Li Wei replied, it's only a matter of time. If I'm not a Divine Hidden One, am I supposed to be Yin or Shi Lu? What about Yaoyin? With her innate talent, she'll achieve 100 silver meridians sooner or later. I can't kill her just to take Yin or Shi Lu's position. Yaoyin came to Chu Prefecture with you. Where is she now? The final sentence was directed at Yin Ju. Yin Shiwu and Yin Shi Lu escorted her and Yin or Shi Si to Martyr's Valley to pay respects to her mother. Yin Ju's tone remained calm as he continued, you need to reach at least the 5th stage of the 5 Seas realm to officially become a Divine Hidden One. Trying to become our leader at this stage. You have enough confidence and ambition, but your strength isn't sufficient. I don't accept it. I don't accept it either. To earn the respect of the Hidden Ones, you must either possess extraordinary wisdom and cunning or be strong enough to subdue everyone through force. Qin Li's eyes blazed with intensity as she raised her starfall sword above her head. Without a single swing, a sword formation woven from sword chi automatically materialized within the room, spreading like a spiderweb. Li Wei released his spiritual chi to sense the location of the sword chi, only to find his body completely immobilized. Even the slightest movement of a finger would trigger the formation. He was utterly trapped within the sword chi net. I half submit. A third voice echoed through the room. Li Wei was astonished. There was someone else here. When he had entered the room, he had carefully scanned the area, yet he hadn't detected a trace of this person. This person's ability to conceal himself was simply extraordinary. Following the sound, Li Wei spotted the third figure. The person was coiled around a beam, with a human upper body and a serpentine lower half, pointed ears, and a forked tongue flicking in and out. Li Wei asked, "How should I address you, Brother Banfu?" Yin Shi Yi. He continued, "Yaoyan's innate talent is already astonishing, but Hidden Lord said Li Wei surpasses her, possessing the strength to effortlessly defeat 3 psychic murals. Moreover, his cultivation speed is terrifyingly fast. It won't be long before he catches up to us. If we don't submit now, won't it be even more humiliating later?" Li Wei replied, "It doesn't matter. I understand why you're reluctant to submit. Any person with a modicum of ability wouldn't willingly take orders from a junior whose cultivation is far inferior to their own, especially when there's a lack of mutual understanding. Now that's more like it." Qin Li retracted his sword formation with a graceful sweep of his arm, throwing the starlight sword into the air. It vanished in an instant, returning to its sheath on the table behind the curtain. But those who refuse to submit won't benefit anything. Li Wei produced a crimson haze herb, a rare medicine that aids in opening the qi si, and tossed it toward the rafters. Yin Shiyi immediately reached out to catch it, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "Is it still possible for me to submit now? Submission must come from the heart, not through coercion or bribery." Li Wei truly understood Yinju and Yin Shi. At their level of cultivation, how could they easily take orders from a junior whose cultivation was far inferior to their own, especially when they lacked mutual understanding? If Li Wei were in their position, he would have been completely incapable of doing the same. Yin Ju asked, "Did the tracking yield any results?" Li Wei straightened up, his expression serious as he recounted the entire tracking process in detail. Young Venerable Yin Ju, Yin Shi, and Yin Shiyi were all stunned by the mysterious figure Li Wei had mentioned. They had never heard of this person before. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.